Now let us discuss how to do input-output in Python programs. So in the between input-output, let's first look at the output. Basically, output, the built-in function print is used. So it's a fairly simple thing to do. Print is a very commonly used function. And so we can use, so how does it work? Print function. So when you use print function, you say print and within parentheses, you can give any number of various number of different numbers of arguments is possible. So if you have a list of things, you can give a comma separated those list of arguments, and then each argument will get evaluated, and those then after each one gets evaluated, each argument resulting in an object after getting the evaluated. So this so their values will be displayed in the standard output. Standard output means basically the display, right? So this in this comma separated list, the item, any item that is there, is it that it's it is let's suppose say it can be even an expression that will be evaluated, and finally a particular object will basically be the result. Now it might get converted to a string if needed for display. Okay, and usually the new line character will be written at the end. That will be done by the print function. So that idea is that on the display, after the list of items are displayed, the new line is also output, which means the in the command line, you will see the correct cursor at the starting at a new line, right? So new line means basically the cursor will be taken to the beginning of a new line after all the values are displayed. So this is that is the standard behavior. Or sometimes you may just want to display the list of items in the print function, but you don't want to go to the next line. So how do you prevent print from inserting the new line? Well, for that purpose, if we need to just understand how print works. So the print has something called this argument. That is the last thing in the list of items is has a default value. It is the new line. So if you don't want that to be displayed, simply have to say end equals, let's say nothing, right? And you can simply say this can be example, you can say end like this. So nothing for end, because then at the time of calling the print, if this value is set like that, then that can prevent inserting the new line, right? Because we are basically overriding the value there. Okay, right. So this basically says again the separator also, when you have a set list of objects separated by comma displayed, and then you can also control or change the standard separator character. The standard separator character here says that it's a space, a single space, but if we want, we can change that as well. Right. So that was the output, how we output using print usually. And for input, that means we want to input some values from the keyboard, right? We say standard input is the keyboard. So input, for that, we use the input function. When you have a prompt like this within square bracket, it basically means that prompt is optional, right? You can include a particular some prompt here if you want to display. Otherwise, you can just leave it empty, right? So what the input function will do is it will read a line from the keyboard and convert it to a string that whatever content read from the keyboard will contain a new line character at the end, because usually you will type something and finally hit enter key on the keyboard that will generate this new line character. So input function will remove that trailing, that means ending new line, and returns that string. So you can assign the whole thing to some other variable so that we have access to that string after that. If the prompt argument is present, it will be written in the standard output without a trailing new line. So that prompt will help the user of the program to understand that, okay, there's some input is expected, and that way communication can be improved between the user and the system by using the value for the prompt, right? So here's an example. So this example is in the notes. You will see that's program 2.2. Now you can see, let me say S equals input, and within parentheses we have said enter your input. So this is the prompt that we talked about. We said this is optional. If you don't have this, no harm, still it will run, but without a prompt. So this prompt will be displayed at the time of execution, so that the user who is executing this program knows that, okay, now our input is expected, right? And that input will be typed in by the using the keyboard by the user, and finally enter is hit. Then that whatever is input will be read by the input function, and the new line character will be removed, and the resulting part, the remainder, would be basically sent or returned by input as a string. And this S basically will have access to that. So we have that string object will be stored somewhere in memory, and this with this S variable, we will be able to refer to that. So in the next line, what we do is we say print, and you can see there are two arguments, right? Because it's you can see the comma that separates this thing, right? So this is one of the arguments up to this point, and the second one is this one. Two arguments. First one says, first one is the string received input is colon, like that. So that will be displayed as is, comma, after that it says, and display S. So what is S? By now, S is referring to the string that was input by the keyboard, from the keyboard, right? So let's see how this will run. So if you execute it, this prompt, enter your input colon, that be displayed. So that's the prompt. And let's say the user who is running this program will type hello Python. So this blue color part is the user's input by keyboard, and red color is what is displayed by the program on screen. So after typing hello Python and hit enter, we know hello Python part without the new line will be the value of S. So the string returned by input will be that. And S refers to that. Therefore, in the second statement here, received input is there with the colon, and the value of S is displayed here, which is in this case now hello Python. Right? S refers to the string hello Python, which is returned by the input function. So suppose that's easy to understand. Let's take another example. Here, this is program 2.3, in which you will find in the notes. Here you have a, like in the previous example, again, S is equal to input and there's a prompt. So that prompt will be displayed, and whatever the user types will be then input function will read from the keyboard, and that will be made returned as a string by input, and then S will refer to that. So this is a variable referring to that string object. And now this time, this example, we are displaying here received input is colon, and this is the eval is a built-in function. It evaluates the string S. That result is what is displayed here. We have another inside this print function call. We have another function call. That means eval function has been called with is S as the input argument. So what happens is here, the function eval gets evaluated with S string as input. The result thing is what is to be displayed by this function. So the print is supposed to display this, and the return value of this eval is, right? So what is eval is basically here the assumption is that, okay, S is supposed to be an expression, which is a valid expression of Python, right? The Python expression is what is expected as is input here that gets evaluated by eval function. So, for example, here we show in blue color. So in this now at the bottom you can see a sample execution. So at the prompt, enter your input. This user has simply typed this. Okay, and this you may not perhaps understand, but don't worry. It's because we have not yet discussed these things. This is actually one possible way to write a for loop. So basically that for loop says, so this is the for, and x. So x will take value 1, 2, and 3 one by one in 3 iterations. Or so first time x, the value of x would be 1, next time it will be 2, and the last time it will be 3. So for each case, so what the value here is for each value of x, so x times 5 is the value that is basically in each iteration of this for loop. Okay, so if this is so, this is basically it's not like in the previous example. You could see it's simply hello Python that we entered. So that is displayed just like that. That's it. This time, we are expecting a valid Python expression as input from the keyboard, and that input expression is basically evaluated. And what you will see as a output is that S being evaluated. So in this case, this particular string, which is in blue color, is a valid Python expression or a statement. That's when you say evaluated, it's basically by itself, it gets executed. And the result of 5, 10, and 15 is basically you have everything as within square bracket, which means the whole thing is a list. So what we have asked is to produce a list by taking X value of 1, 2, and 3 one at a time, and produce the multiplication of that each item by 5. So first time with 1 multiplied by 5, you get 5. And then next time you get the value of 2 multiplied by 5, you get 10. Finally, X value would be 3 and multiply that by 5, you get 15. And so that is the list that is generated here because it's been considered as a list. That is the result. Okay. So don't worry anyway if you don't understand this whole loop as of now, because later we will learn the loops in more detail, right? All right, so just wanted to explain that as another possible thing that we can do with when we want to do input-output. Right, so that brings to the end of this part.